Internet, I'm here, and it looks like I'm picking up.
Something's happening.
So we should be good. We look equal.
Do we? Have we finally achieved equilibrium?
All I have to do is lay down, and we have to put the sound thing up to bounce your voice back.
I think the sound thing might be the key. Mm-hmm. So I do have a, soundproofing guard for the microphone.
Yes, we have quite the official setup now.
Very official. Well, we're still sitting on the floor of my spare room.
Yes, but there's soundproofing on the walls. There's some foam panels. There's the
They're being
shield.
held up by my guitars. It's a work in progress.
You know what? All that matters is that we're improving. So as we go, we're learning. That's all you can ask for out of life. We are also joined, not quite sure if she'll have any input, but we are also joined by the cat, the Void. You may have heard her in previous episodes. She was very talkative earlier, but apparently she's mum.
She's kind of just spread herself out here.
Yeah, she really has. She's like, you may pet me. Either one of you. She spread herself out between us.
Yeah, so her back feet are on Emily's shoulder.
Yeah, because I'm on the floor, audience, so picture this. Emily S.W. is laying on the floor, and a black cat's little feeties are resting against my shoulder, and she is sprawled on her back.
Yeah, she's on her back. She's belly up.
Very uncat-like behavior.
Not a care in the world.
And she's getting scratches. She's exactly where she wants to be. But anyways, we're not here to talk about the cat or our seating positions.
What if people want to hear about the cat?
That's true. You'll have to let us know, audience. Do you want to hear more about the cat? Would you like stories?
You want to hear more from the cat?
We
can't control that. No. But we can try.
Make a compilation of all the cat interruptions. There's certainly been enough of them. We should just, you know what we should do? We should do a cat episode where it's just
the cat
just
meowing.
The cat. And I'll record...
For half an hour.
I'll record my cat meowing, and we'll put them together. So it's
what
two
if
different...
the cats collabed?
There we go. Put a pin in that. We'll have to revisit that for another time.
You know what it'll be like? They'll be like those books that are just meow, 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 meow.
Meow, 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 meow. This is a great idea. We could make a cat podcast. We can make books, merch.
You know, maybe that'll be our April Fools.
That's true. We'll have to pick a suitable topic for them. Maybe something with mice or birds. My cat loves to watch the birds. Also, her favorite toy, it has feathers.
Nice.
Yeah.
This cat also, she jumps for toys, which makes me think if she saw a bird, she'd go after it.
Yeah, that tracks. Okay, well, anyway, the real point of today, we are reading another poem, but it's not a poem by Edgar Allan Poe. We are reading the one, the only, Alfred Tennyson, or Lord Alfred Tennyson, excuse me. Alfred, comma, Lord Tennyson.
Yes, it was commented upon last time when Poe was talking about plagiarizing Tennyson. And I said, I'm not familiar with any of his work. And you said you weren't really super familiar with him either.
Mm-mm.
So I thought, why don't we fix that?
Yeah, so we have here The Lady of Shalott from 1832. Now, I'm pretty sure I read this in an English class in college, but that was a while ago, so... We're going to revisit.
I have never read this.
So a little bit about Alfred Lord Tennyson. 1809 to 1892, he was the poet laureate during much of Queen Victoria's reign.
Were you just reading from Wikipedia?
Yes. I'm just looking for anything interesting or relevant. Okay, so here's something that's relevant. The Lady of Shalott is from Tennyson's second published book of poetry, which was met with the book was met with heavy criticism. So then he didn't publish again for 10 years. He was writing, but he received so much criticism, he was like, nah, none of y'all get to read this.
Wow, his haters really got to him.
Yeah, he did not grow up in the age of the internet where you have to learn how to have a thick skin.
No, I don't know if it's better or worse, because in the age of the internet, everyone has an opinion, right?
Yeah, for better or for worse,
but that means,
definitely...
literally everybody and anybody has an opinion, whereas back then, if he was seeing reviews, it would have been by people who reviewed things professionally.
Like newspapers or journals or...
other authors.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have had a little bit more weight behind it, I think.
That's true. It wouldn't have just been people telling him to do horrible things to himself or, lose weight, get a job, or whatever it is people in the comments say. Okay, but his next volume of work, which was published in 1842, So that's 10 years. That's 10 years.
Yep.
I can do math. This was met with immediate success. And he revised the Lady of Shalott in that one, which is how it became such a famous, celebrated poem.
He had a successful comeback.
He did. He had a very good comeback. It took him 10 years. He really perfected his craft. And then he knocked their socks off. And after that, in 1850, is when he was appointed to Poet Laureate. And he held that position until 1892. So 42 years he was the Poet Laureate. That's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't...
The Poet Laureate. What does that do for a person?
In the United Kingdom, it's an honorary position. It does not have any specific duties, but there's an expectation that the holder will write verse for significant national occasions. It dates back to 1616.
So it's just like the official poet of the country.
Yeah, basically. Historically, it was appointed for an unfixed term and held for life. Since 1999, it's been a term of 10 years. That's it, on the Poet Laureate subject.
Okay. Well, I guess it's a big honor, mostly, right?
Big honor, especially for a man who received so much criticism that he stopped publishing for 10 years. So that's quite the comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what do you think about that?
She's leaving us. No, she's not leaving us.
Not.
She's coming for a new angle.
What do you think about Alfred?
Oh, she's coming for you. No.
No.
Where's she going?
She's behind the shelf.
She's vanished into the void.
Okay. Well, no word yet, but I'm sure we'll hear something from her on her opinions later. No, so that was a little bit about Tennyson. Should we just get to the poem?
Yeah, let's get to it. It's fairly long, isn't it?
It is. So I printed this out from Poetry Foundation online. It is public domain, but also the Poetry Foundation is a great place to find poems if you can't, find the actual book. It's 4 pages long. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's double-sided. I printed it double-sided.
So it's 8 pages
long. It's 8
long.
pages long. Well, 7 technically, because the last page isn't.
Okay, and I see there's a part 1 there, so this is
There's a
broken
part
up.
1. There's 4 parts of this poem, and it's 7 pages from the Poetry Foundation.
So do we want to read a part and then kind of reflect on it?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you want to read, or shall I?
I shall read. Part 1. On either side the river lie, long fields of barley and of rye, that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by, to many-towered Camelot, the yellow-leaved water-lily, the green-sheathed daffodilly, tremble in the water chilly, round about Shalott. Willows whiten, aspens shiver, the sunbeam showers break and quiver, in the stream that runneth ever, by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. 4 grey walls and 4 grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. Underneath the bearded barley, the reaper reaping late and early, hears her ever chanting cheerly, like an angel singing clearly o'er the stream of Camelot, piling the sheaves in furrows airy, beneath the moon the reaper weary, listening whispers, 'tis the fairy Lady of Shalott. The little isle is all enrailed with a rose fence and overtrailed with roses by the marge unhailed, the shallop flitteth silken sailed, skimming down to Camelot. A pearl garland winds her head, she leaneth on a velvet bed, full royally apparelled, the Lady of Shalott. Alright, that's the end of part 1.
Okay, so we're setting a scene here. Part 1 is we have our location, a lovely field outside Camelot.
Nearby, but that's not where we are.
Yeah, that's true. We're in Shalott because our focus is the lady, and I'm assuming because we've got mentions of a reaper, and she's very happy, so I'm assuming she's gonna die. That's my prediction.
Well, the reaper here is reaping barley. Like, it's a literal person who hears her singing from the tower.
You raise a good point. I don't usually think of reaping in terms of barley. I think of reaping in terms of death. You know what? That makes more sense, though. Because it sets a much more pleasant scene than I was like, oh man, they're talking about death?
No, not quite yet. No, I think the workers who are reaping the barley down in the fields below can hear her in her tower.
You know, that makes sense because the Grim Reaper, the imagery comes from people in the fields reaping.
Yeah, with the scythe.
Yeah.
But also, workers here call her a fairy. So there's like a mystical quality to it.
I'm glad you clarified that because in my head it was Ferry, like a ferry coming down the river.
Oh no, F-A-R-I.
Okay. So they're referring to her.
The fairy, Lady of Shalott.
Okay, I thought they were addressing the lady like, hey look, there's the fairy. And I thought there would be someone on there.
They're down in the fields whispering, oh, it's the fairy.
Okay.
The Lady of Shalott, she's like a very mystical, almost kind of figure here. But she's happy. She sings nicely.
Yep, she's singing. She's got nice clothes and a nice velvet bed. And if the townspeople, serfs, whatever they are, they call her a fairy, they probably don't hate her, right?
Fairies were something to be avoided in some folklore, right?
That's a good point.
Because they're kind of devious.
Well, if we're talking about Camelot...
That was the next thing I wanted to bring up, was Camelot.
A mystical...
That should evoke a very strong image, right? This is, like, medieval England.
Yes. Knights, chivalry, potentially magic, depending on...
Yeah, so you should be associating this with King Arthur stories.
Yes.
For sure.
Okay.
Is that about do it for part 1?
Yeah, I've already made an idiot of myself. Let's hear part 2.
Part 2. No time hath she to sport and play. A charmed web she weaves alay. A curse is on her, if she stay, her weaving either night or day, to look down to Camelot. She knows not what the curse may be, therefore she weaveth steadily. Therefore no other care hath she, the Lady of Shalott. She lives with little joy or fear, over the water running near. The sheep bell tinkles in her ear, before her hangs a mirror clear, reflecting towered Camelot. And as the mazy web she whirls, she sees the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shalott. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot. And sometimes through the mirror blue, the knights come riding, 2 and 2. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights, for often through the silent nights, a funeral with plumes and lights and music come from Camelot. Or when the moon was overhead, came 2 young lovers lately wed. I am half sick of shadows, said the Lady of Shalott.
See, the thing that sticks out to me the most about this is the line, I am half sick of shadows. And that's because it is used as the title in a mystery series called the Flavian Deleuze series, which is delightful, by the way, if you're looking for like a post-war kind of cozy England mysteries with a sassy 12-year-old protagonist. But all the titles in that series are from famous works of literature. I am half sick of shadows always stood out to me because it's such a banger.
Even kind of in here, it stands out because it broke the pace a little bit.
It did. Well, and it's like, so now we're setting definitely magic. Definitely a King Arthur with magic. She's cursed.
Mm-hmm.
She's cursed to never leave. She has to look in the magic mirror and she weaves whatever is going on. I'm assuming it's like a tapestry thing.
And we're also getting a lot of the things going on around her, so we're kind of juxtaposing the outside world where people are free to come and go as they please while she's still here.
Yes, she's still here.
And all the different kinds of people that go by her tower.
They're living their lives, having these emotions, and she gets to witness them. But she also has no knight of her own.
Correct.
Made a point to mention. One can assume she's lonely. And half sick of shadows, so sick of being in this castle weaving and not being out in the life and the lights.
The other thing, too, she lives with little joy or fear, so she's kind of in this very neutral state all the time.
Yeah, no human emotion. But you could say she doesn't have fear, but also no joy, so...
Yeah. That's why she's only half sick of the shadow.
That's true.
So there's nothing extreme in her life at all. I don't even mean, like, extreme, but there's no real contrast to her life.
No.
There's no strong emotions.
There's no threat.
Other than this curse, which she doesn't even know.
No, she just has to keep weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Keep sitting there, yeah.
Oh, this is quite a gloomy turn here.
Yes.
Should we move on?
Yes, let's see what kind of turn we're going into. If we'll have a happy ending or no.
Part 3. A bow shot from her bower eaves. He rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A red cross knight forever kneeled to a lady in his shield that sparkled on the yellow field beside remote Shalott. The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy. The bridle bells rang merrily as he rode down from Camelot. And from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armor rung beside remote Shalott. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jeweled shone the saddle leather, the helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together as he rode down from Camelot. As often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor trailing light moves over green Shalott. How was it?
That line is really...
What is it?
Shalott.
Shalott. Moves over green Shalott. Okay. I'll have at least one usable line there. Moves over green Shalott. His broad, clear brow in sunlight glowed. On burnished hooves his war horse trode. From underneath his helmet flowed his coal-black curls as on he rode down from Camelot. From the bank and from the river he flashed into the crystal mirror. Tira-lira, sang Sir Lancelot. She left the web, she left the loom, she made 3 paces through the room, and saw the water flower bloom. She saw the helmet and the plume, she looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide, the mirror cracked from side to side. "'Tis curse is come upon me," cried the Lady of Shalott. End part 3.
So what we have here is this guy was so hot that she was like, I gotta get up and look at him. Like, basically, God, who cares about the curse? Yeah, I gotta get a look at this guy.
That was quite the description.
It was. And I was also thinking, too, because barley keeps coming up. Barley, he rode through the barley.
Mm-hmm.
I was just doing a little bit of Googling to see if that's an allusion to anything in particular, because for me, you know, barley is like, it's a harvest. It's abundance. It's prosperity. If you have a good harvest of barley, you're going to make it through the winter. Like, it's... Okay, yeah. So in the Bible, it's also kind of similar, where barley was used in offerings in ancient Israel and, like, feasts and stuff. So in addition to symbolizing abundance and having, you know, provisions, it was considered sacred because it's associated with fertility in the harvest. Okay, so that's kind of... Well, that's actually exactly what I said. Never mind. But anyways, we have the barley coming up again, and I think abundance is the correct symbolism to go with here, because he's got some money.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a gemmy bridle.
It's been a long time describing, not necessarily him, but his...
stuff.
Stuff, yeah. The plume on his helmet.
And his armor is very shiny.
Very shiny armor.
Honestly, I should have seen it coming that it would be Lancelot, because it rhymes with Camelot and Shalott.
I feel like nowadays it's a hard name to take seriously.
Yes, because I hear Lancelot, and I'm just like, oh my god, I wonder if this is before or after he had sex with Guinevere.
Also, there was a lot of colors in this one.
Yeah, red in particular.
Yeah,
and like
red came up more than once.
Golden.
Gold. Purple Night. That wasn't Night, K-N-I-G-H-T. It's Purple Night as in the time of day.
Okay. Well, red came up in previous parts, too.
So, yeah, the red crossed, which would have been like the Knights Templar. So this is crusading times.
And, red, and it described red with the market girls, red being youthful, vitality, probably fertility. We'll keep that going because it's kind of the barley, the harvest. He's got black hair. It's like coal black, right?
Coal black, yeah.
No gray hair, which means...
He's young.
He's young and virile. And he's a knight with a big sword.
And we also had blue weather and green Shalott.
Yeah, so green Shalott is prosperous. Green meaning alive, and the fields are alive. Not with the sound of music.
Yeah, but see, not only is he's going through here with the unclouded weather, so it's a beautiful day, but also through the purple night beneath starry clusters and meteors trailing light. So he's just, like, everywhere. This is the image we're getting, right? It's a very idealistic. Everywhere this man goes...
it's perfect.
It's beautiful.
And she's been watching his approach for a while, if
he's passed through day and night, yeah.
That's some mirror she's got. And so she sees this guy, and she's like, I gotta stand up.
And Golden Galaxy. He's being compared in this poem to the heavens.
You're really supposed to be like, oh, Lancelot, this guy.
There's something special about him.
Okay, so now whatever curse is on her, we're gonna find out what it is.
Alright, should we go on to the last part then?
Yes, let's find out if Lancelot rescues her from the curse or if it's a tragedy.
He'll probably go on about his life with no idea about his secret admirer.
Maybe she'll fall from the tower into the river. That would be very Shakespeare. That makes me think of Ophelia.
Part 4. In the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining over towered Camelot. Outside the isle a shallow boat, beneath a willow, lay afloat. Below the carven stern she wrote, the Lady of Shalott. A cloud-white crown of pearl she dight, all ramented in snowy white, that loosely flew her zone in sight, clasped with one blinding diamond bright, her wide eyes fixed on Camelot. Though the squally east wind keenly blew with folded arms serenely, by the water stood the queenly Lady of Shalott. With a steady stony glance, like some bold seer in a trance, beholding all his own mischance, mute with a glassy countenance, she looked down to Camelot. It was the closing of the day, she loosed the chain, and down she lay, the broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott. As when to sailors while they roam, by creeks and outfalls far from home, rising and dropping with the foam, from dying swans wild warblings come, blown shoreward, so to Camelot. Still as the boat-head wound along, the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her chanting her death-song, the Lady of Shalott. A long-drawn choral, mournful, holy, she chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her eyes were dark and holy, and her smooth face, sharp and slowly, turned to towered Camelot, from ere she reached upon the tide, the first house by the waterside, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a pale, pale corpse she floated by, dead cold between the houses high, dead into towered Camelot. Knight and burgher, lord and dame, to the planked wharfage came, below the stern they read her name, the Lady of Shalott. They crossed themselves, their stars they blessed, knight, minstrel, abbot, squire, and guest. There lay a parchment on her breast, that puzzled more than all the rest, the well-fed wits at Camelot. The web was woven curiously, the charm is broken utterly. Draw near and fear not. This is I, the Lady of Shalott.
Okay, so she didn't jump into the river, and she didn't get a happy ending.
No, it sounds just like whatever this curse was just sustaining her life, and since she stopped weaving, that was also
That
the
was
end.
it. She was done.
And as I predict it, Sir Lancelot just went about his way.
It's true.
But no idea what he'd done.
Sounds like Lancelot. He was never my favorite knight of the Round Table.
No.
Overrated.
I'm not terribly familiar with...
I always like Gawain, but he has the cool story with the Green Knight.
Mm.
So that's a story for another day.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sad. She just... Like, and I'm trying to think, okay, what's the moral of the story? Like, what are we as the readers supposed to take away from this? Is there some sort of advice to the way we live our life here? I don't think there is. I think it's just a tragic story.
Yeah, it kind of just feels like a story about, like, a folktale figure.
Yeah. I liked the line about the dying swans as she went past. I thought, like, the calls of dying swans. I thought that was very... He's got the imagery.
Mm-hmm.
I could see why he was poet laureate. I was moved. I was imagining it so vividly in my head. It really just, from a modern perspective, as a person who likes stories, Lancelot, really, they gave him so much space, and then he just, like, literally, he had no idea what happened.
He had a whole part dedicated to just describing him and his armor and his horse.
And he was so impressive that she stopped weaving to actually look at him physically, and then she was like, oh, well, I've done it. Time for me to die.
Yep.
Like, and that, I think, is the worst part about that curse, is that she's like, well, time to die, and then she just goes down to the ferry and gets herself on it and chants herself down the river until she literally starves to death, is what I got with her face getting sunken in.
It was almost like, I wonder if whatever this curse was kind of like rendered her immortal.
Mm.
So after she left the tower, she started rapidly aging.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point, yeah.
Or it was a curse that kept her young.
Mm-hmm. I like Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
What a sad existence. You don't really live your life. And then the second you're like, hey, I want to live my life. I want to go talk to that guy. It's over. You're done. That's kind of depressing.
No, the futility of it all.
But we had some banger lines about dying swans and being half sick of shadows. And everyone who saw her was like, oh, glad it's not me. They thanked their stars.
Oh, yeah, how's that any different from nowadays?
Yeah, it's called Schadenfreude.
Even, obviously, a much less consequential context. Look at how many times when the K-pop boys are doing games and it's the punishment and they're always saying, as long as it's not me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not even about winning. It's just about not losing.
Yeah, that's all I got about it.
Okay. To satisfy my own curiosity, Schadenfreude was first used in German in the 1740s.
Alright, so the word did exist.
And was first used in English texts in 1852 and 1867.
So that was after this poem.
Yeah, in English at least.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the concept is as old as humanity itself.
Definitely a lot of questions. What was the curse? Who placed it?
Yeah, I feel like this poem mostly exists to be for the imagery, you know?
Yeah.
It exists to be pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Which there's nothing wrong with that. I did highly enjoy the imagery.
Just a tragic tale.
But especially because we talk so much about Gothic literature, there's usually, good triumphing over evil, or, like, there's usually these big, grand sort of themes. Or, the battle between morality and evil, or, in Dracula, you've got Dracula being, like, the devil figure, and...
I wouldn't even necessarily say that there's an underlying message of, like, giving up yourself for someone else the way that, like, Sybil Vane did. Because we had already established that the Lady of Shalott was not satisfied with her life.
No, she wasn't. She never got a chance to be. I think that's why it's so sad. She just had a nothing life, and then a nothing death. I don't know how to wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way that it's not just a complete downer, but...
Thanks, Tennyson. You really dragged the mood down.
Here's the thing now. Do we have a better idea of how Poe plagiarized in his science sonnet?
My memory's not that good. I would have to see this.
The vulture's wings. And all the Greek mythology.
Maybe that must be referencing another Tennyson poem. I could see kind of the visual style, like the style of the visual metaphors. But also, poetry is a very metaphor-heavy, very visual form.
Well, even just reading this, like, the way Tennyson writes is very, very different from Poe.
Oh, extremely. Honestly, this poem, even with the depressing ending, too happy for Poe. Like, Poe is definitely just darker. This wasn't really dark. It was just kind of sad in a pretty poetic way.
Is this based on any actual mythology?
According to very official Wikipedia, the Lady of Shalott was inspired by a 13th century Italian piece called Donna di Scalata, which tells the story of Elaine of Astolat, figure in Arthurian legend, who dies of her unrequited love for Sir Lancelot. Her story appears in Le Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Malory.
So I guess Lancelot just breaks hearts everywhere he goes.
Yes.
That's like his whole thing, and then he's like the pretty boy.
He is. He's the pretty boy. He causes a bunch of problems. Okay, but in the original legend, it's a little different than her being cursed and stuff. Because her dad organizes a tournament that's attended by Arthur and the Round Table Knights. And then Lancelot shows up. Elaine becomes enamored. Okay, so what happens is, Elaine becomes enamored with Lancelot. And she's like, you should wear my favor for the tournament. And he's like, well, Guinevere's going to be there, so I can't wear your favor as myself, but I'll wear a disguise. And then I'll wear it. So he borrows a shield so that he can fight in the joust and no one knows it's him. He wins the joust, beats everyone else in the party, gets injured by Sir Bors, which, if you are familiar with Arthurian legend, he is the elder. Yeah, they're some of the earliest knights that join Arthur's cause. Anyways, so Lancelot gets injured. And then Elaine nurses Lancelot back to health. And when he's ready to leave, he offers to pay Elaine for her services. And Elaine is like, dude, that's so offensive. And she says no. She just brings him a shield. And then Lancelot leaves, never to return, but now aware of her feelings for them. And then Elaine dies of heartbreak like a week later. Her body is placed in a small boat, clutching a lily in one hand and her final letter in another, and she floats down the river to Camelot, where she's discovered by the court, which also explains the symbolism of the water lilies in the poem. Because I noticed that and forgot to mention it while you were reading, but the water lilies did come up more than once. Lancelot is summoned, and then he's ashamed when he hears the contents of the letter, so he pays for a rich burial.
Well, that's very different. That doesn't resemble this story at all, aside from the lady dying in the end.
Yeah, that's really it. Like, she wasn't cursed.
Lancelot.
Yeah, Lancelot's there. I mean, she does die because of Lancelot in both, but Tennyson really took some creative liberties.
Well, it's his story, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so moral of the story.
Don't fall in love with knights.
Yeah, basically. Especially not Lancelot. So that's it for this week's Podcastle. Tune in next week, or next episode.
2 weeks, so we've been doing a bi-weekly schedule.
Yes, fortnightly.
What will we talk about next time?
Nobody knows. We have some idea.
Oh, I was going to say, should we give a clue?
Oh, sure.
A hint? Because you had that really funny idea earlier if we had shallots.
Oh, yeah.
To take a picture and post to somewhere as a hint.
A hint before this one comes
sounds
out.
like Shalott.
Yeah, that's true, because I've been saying the Lady of Shalott all night as we were discussing this. So what should the hint... You mean a hint for the next one?
Yeah. Well, we can't hint this one, because this one's already happened.
No, I know. What are we doing next time? Pew pew. Ooh, we're doing something that has something to do with radio. And radio is a little further advanced than most of the stuff we talk about year-wise. I don't know. How else would you hint at it?
I'm just trying to figure out some fun way to wrap this up, since this was... I mean, not that anything we talk about is particularly happy, but...
No. I don't know. Then goodbye.
Alright.
Well. That's been this Podcastle. Tune in next time, where we'll have a more fun discussion, and maybe the cat will have more to say. I just hit her with my elbow.
She's, again, totally unbothered.
Totally unbothered. Well, goodbye, Internet.